Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the MatchNet podcast. It's been so long since I haven't do a podcast. Benchi has been doing podcasts all this time, and I like to jump in and do some episodes. But since has been very crazy with two blessings at the beginning of the year, and after that, new things that are coming up in the world, new application system and new changes in the matching process that I'm so excited to share with you very soon. But today I have a very special guest with me. She's Dr. Yeunhee Chang. And before she introduces herself, I want to share the crazy story about how I met her. So I was in Korea in the Blue Dragon pilgrimage, and I was just coming out from a lecture, and I was walking with Dr. Hendricks, and Yeonhee Chang, Dr. Chang with her husband, just came out from giving lectures, and then just we were. It was coincidence, but we know that never is coincidence. It was just the spirit world guiding us, and Dr. Hendricks introduced me to her, and like it was like immediately connection. And we both missed the dinner. We were just like talking and talking and talking and talking, and I was so mind blown by everything that she was sharing. So I'm so excited to these conversations that we have been having between her and me and myself to be shared with you guys. I'm so excited for that and to share more. So thank you. Welcome here, Dr. Chang.
Thank you, Carina. Yeah, I remember that day when we first met. Thank you.
Yeah, it was
And
so
also
wonderful.
thank you. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me and to let me use this platform to talk today. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, of course. So many of people here in this platform probably doesn't know about you. Can you share with us a little bit of yourself, your background, and how you ended up in Korea?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a second gen and I'm one of the older second gen. And I was born in Canada. I grew up in Toronto. And I met my husband in Korea, and we have 5 kids together. I have
Wow.
one daughter and 4 boys, and in that order. And yeah, I studied music in college at York University. And then I always wanted to um, go to UTS, to the theological seminary, ever since I was in high school. That was kind of a given for me. I just wanted to do that. And I was very interested in spiritual things. And I thought the best place would be to study at UTS and learn about all of the saints and sages that love God. And I was really interested in that. But at the same time, I didn't just want to continue to study theology um, starting from college. So I thought, okay, I have a musical background, so I'll do some music first. And I just kind of intuitively felt that that would kind of round me out better, I guess. So, but I've been able to use my music um, all throughout my life, no matter where I am and what I'm doing. And I also just got my doctorate degree this year in February. It took me many years to get that done, but I got my ministerial doctorate here
Wow.
at the Sunhak UP graduate university here in Korea.
Wow,
Yeah.
congratulations. I didn't knew that it was February. I thought it was before. Wow, that's very recently. That's
Yeah,
so fresh.
I got my seal of approval last year in March.
Mm.
Um, so it was a long process. It was a long process. But you
Yeah,
also asked me to share about why I ended up in Korea,
yeah.
and that definitely had to do with True Mother. And it was in 2015, True Mother, she came to America, and at that time I was a pastor, a vice pastor in Toronto. And my husband and I, we drove to New York to see True Mother. And that day she's the things that she said, it just completely changed my husband's, like both of our lives. And we
All right.
decided, well, we need to be close to True Mother. I mean, we weren't really up there in the hierarchy or anything, but we just felt like we should go to Korea. We need to be close to Mother. And a little bit before that, when True Father passed, we were really surprised when True Father passed. It was kind of unexpected for all of us.
Mm.
And we were kind of really regretting um, not having, been close, just and relating more with true parents. And I know it's maybe that's a silly thing to think because we were so much more younger and there's so many older leaders, but for some reason we just always thought, oh, we got to be close to true parents. We got to do something. And so we dropped everything. We were kind of at the peak of our ministry. We were really enjoying our ministry at that time. So when we left, we were really sad, but at the same time, we just felt a need to have to be in Korea close to Mother. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I had to ask, what did your mother say there?
But what did she say? Well, I don't, I think it is what she said, but it was the feeling that I received. And
Mm.
I remember that day, she was talking and then she started um, her voice started to shake and she started to cry. She cried a lot actually that
Mm.
day. There's a video on YouTube of that speech. Actually, I just found it this year. Someone sent me a link,
Oh, wow.
and she was talking about father, and she was also talking about how she felt. She has so many things that she needs to do, and she kind of felt like she was the one who was doing everything. And she was asking, where's the filial child that will do 10 things when I only say one thing? And while she said that, some kind of like vibration, her voice, I was sitting right in front of her, and it's like her voice, it pierced my solar plexus, and I just started crying. My
Mm.
husband and I, we just started crying. There were several other leaders sitting next to us, and they also were crying, but it was kind of uncontrollable for me. And I really felt Mother's deep, her urgency and also her pain and her desperate situation. Yeah, and while we were driving, I mean, the drive back to Toronto was almost 14 hours. Well, maybe not 14, I'm sorry, that's a plane ride around 7 to 10 hours, I think it was. So all the way back, we were actually talking about, all right, what we're going to do now, where we should go to Korea, we should find a way. And I think we were talking a lot about what's going to be the reason why we move. Like what could we what could we tell our leader? Yeah. So it was very unexpected.
Mm. All your children were born by that time, I guess.
No, I had my fourth child was not 1 years old. So
Oh,
um
wow.
yeah. And the oldest, I think she was in kindergarten still. So I have
Wow.
twin boys. They were just starting preschool. And my youngest at that time was one, not one. Yeah.
Uh,
When we moved to Korea, I got pregnant with my last one and he was unexpected. He was an unexpected. Big surprise. Yeah.
wow. Wow, that's amazing. Um, was that meeting and wanted to be closer to your mother that guided you to wanted to do your doctor?
Actually, I actually started my doctorate back in 2007,
Oh,
and
wow.
I had always wanted to do something about your mother because I felt like there wasn't enough information about her. And it could be because she's a woman and I'm a woman too. But
Mm.
um, I just felt like there wasn't enough information about her. And at that time, I had finished all my studies back in 2009, and I just needed to write my doctorate. I just needed to write my dissertation. And at that time, my subject was passed, my outline for my dissertation, and it was about women leadership um, and about True Mother's leadership. But even then, my committee was telling me, there's not a lot of information out there about mother. I don't know how you're going to do this. But they were saying that it was definitely needed. And at that time, the main faculty were our main theologians actually in America. They were American professors, Dr. Carlson, um, Dr. Masuda, and I think Dr. Silova came a little bit later. But and there was Dr. Jin Kim, who is now the director of the Cheonbop the Constitution Office here, where my husband works.
Mm.
So there was a different faculty then, but they were telling me, yes, your subject would be very difficult to do because there weren't a lot of writings about mother. So I I wanted to do that for a long time, but then after I had my first child, I had four more within the period of 8 years. I had twins, so I had five kids in 8 years, and I had many dreams about uh, going and doing my dissertation, my doctorate examination, and I would miss it. And that feeling of not having done something that I really needed to get done was with me for a long time, for over 10 years. And so I always felt, okay, I have to get it done. I don't know when I'm going to get it done, but it's something I need to get done. And um, when I came to Korea in 2015, in the following year, in February, I actually went to the school and I re-registered to go and do my dissertation. And it was such a long time after. And the faculty, they were kind of surprised that I was trying to even um, pursue this. And they were kind of telling me, oh, Yeunhee, you're great already. You got five kids. You don't need this doctorate. You don't need to prove anything. But inside I was thinking, no, I need to do this for mother. I just felt I need to get this done for mother. And yeah, I remember there was these long drives when I used to drive my kids to school. There's this highway. It's about a 20-minute drive out in the countryside. And I remember I would drive them, and then on the way back, it's a 20-minute ride back. And I would just be talking to myself. And sometimes I'd be talking to the spirit world or whoever's listening. And I remember this one time I said really loud, I said, I can't do my dissertation. I'm not going to do it because it was just so difficult. And trying to manage, my kids and my studies and all these things. And then all of a sudden, I heard a voice. I heard a voice. It was on the right side of my head. And they said, then your mother can't use you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And when I heard that, I was so surprised because I wasn't surprised that I heard that message. I was surprised because I had forgotten why I was pursuing my doctorate in the first place, which was to support mother.
Mm.
And up until that point, that was 19, because in 2016 I found out I was pregnant, and then I couldn't pursue my studies again, and I was really disappointed about that. But I had my another baby, so it took me about 2 years to become a little bit more stable, health wise, mentally. And then in 2018, I started my studies. I started reading, and it wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy. I had this thing called porridge brain. I think mothers can relate.
Totally.
I couldn't remember anything. If someone asked me, what did you have for breakfast yesterday? I couldn't remember. It's just impossible to remember anything that happened even that morning. So I thought, how am I going to remember anything that I read? But actually, 3 years of just uh, using my intellectual brain, everything kind of vamped up again. Everything was working again. I surprised myself. I remembered things that I read. I remembered footnotes. I remembered references where things were, and I do think that the spirit world really helped me. I think there were some spirits guiding me from from the side telling me where things were. And I don't know, people can think I'm crazy for that, but I don't think I could have done it by myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when do you choose? So when do you choose your dissertation team? Like the not the first one. So you know that you wanted to talk about mother, but the one that actually made you graduate. When how was that process, and what was your dissertation about?
So my dissertation, it was a qualitative research. It was a qualitative study. I at that time, when Shrimother started, well, here, let me first, I'll answer this question first. My committee, I had to change my advisor several times. So I was trying to find the right advisor because my native language is English, and this is a Korean, it's a school based in Korea. It's an international school, but the only person that I could really communicate freely with was Dr. Thomas Silova. And
Mm,
at the time, I think he was the president of the school. And so I was really lucky. I Actually, at that time, he wasn't the president. He was one of the professors. He was my advisor, but then um, he was at the age where he had to retire. So I had to change my advisor, and I found the next best person who could speak English, who had a degree from America. And this language part was really, just being able to communicate with my professor was the most important thing for me. Anyone who's living in a country where they have to use a second language probably understands what I'm talking about. And so, anyways, I eventually, Dr. Soloba, he became the president of the school. So he came back. He was a faculty member again. So he was my longtime advisor. Prior to that, I had Dr. David Carlson many, many years ago. But I was very lucky. And Dr. Solova is probably the last English speaking professor, American theologian um, here at this school. So my committee was chosen up. I didn't have any say in that. I think somehow the the professors, I really don't even know how that came about, but the professors that were there actually were some of my colleagues when I was going to UTS and when I was actually studying at Sunhak. So it was a little bit strange, um, um, just because now they were in a position where they were kind of like my professors. Before they were kind of, my colleagues. So, but it was nice. They, yeah. So I wanted to do my doctorate about your mother, and at that time, um, when you pick a doctorate study theme, it has to be something that you're really interested because you're going to be doing this for years. And at that time, I wanted to write about mother, but the thing that was most pressing, something that I had observed, was a lot of the backlash that mother was receiving for um, her only begotten daughter proclamation. And also, she was giving us a lot of new words and new truths. And when I was in Canada, I didn't really experience so much backlash. But when I came to Korea, here in the Mecca of where I'm living, I heard many, many things, and it was very disturbing for me because
mm,
I had never really seen True Mother. I always looked at her as someone who was equally as important, equally in my faith upbringing. I knew that True Mother had things she could teach us, a knowledge that we needed, and but I mean, she never spoke.
mm,
She never spoke. But I just knew that there was things that she could share with us that would help us. And unfortunately, Mother just started speaking much more only after Father went to the spirit world.
mm,
So I was excited. I was really excited that I could hear Mother speak. I was excited that I could hear anything that she could say. But the things that she was saying went against a lot of the set belief system that uh, was present. And as I observed this, I thought, wow, this is crazy. If we can't unite with True Mother, then what's going to happen to our movement? What's going to happen to our church? And as I observed this, I told Dr. Solova, I want to do something to help support mother. I want to do something. What should I do? What should I do? And his wife had done a qualitative research a few years ago. And I thought, well, maybe I should do a qualitative research too, because I felt there wasn't a lot of research done. And also, since mother, I thought, well, your mother's saying all these new things about herself. And I didn't feel that whatever theological teachings we had up until then wasn't enough because of the things people were saying about her. That's how I felt. So I thought, all right, we need to gather information. Why is this happening? Why is this phenomenon happening? And I really wanted to get down to why are people saying these negative things about mother? Why can't they just receive what she's saying and accept what she's saying? Why is this so difficult? And so I thought, okay, the best thing to do is to talk to people. And in the beginning, I was talking to people in my age group, also elders, and it was a lot of negative things, actually. I'm sorry to say. I'm sorry to say there was a lot of negative things. But I was thinking, all right, maybe I should interview these people and try to understand their process of faith belief and how they came to see mother and how they came to relate with her and how they see her. But then um, whenever I met someone that was really negative, it was actually very difficult for me. It was
Mm.
difficult because I really love mother and I really felt like I can understand mother. Why is it so difficult for some of these individuals to accept mother? So I thought, but there's a lot of people who love mother. So I'm going to find out, let's interview people and figure out why they love mother instead of why they find it difficult to love mother. So
Mm.
I ended up changing my research participants, my candidates. And um, I mean, it was, of course, kind of play by ear. I had to kind of think, okay, who should I interview? Who would be the best? And I chose leaders and educators because I felt, well, they're the ones that should know about mother. Let's see what they know. And I started interviewing uh, just 11 people. It wasn't a very large group of people, but I felt that they were representative of a lot of the ideas, thoughts, and feelings of our church and what, many people were going through. So after that, I was able to find the right questions to, I guess, start a quantitative research, to use those questions and then um, find more information based on that. Yeah, I did a qualitative research. I wasn't, it was, I'm not, I wasn't I don't think I'm the best qualitative researcher in this, in this area at all. I mean, I was also a novice. Is that what they call it? So I was new. Um, I had to learn everything. I had to learn about grounded theory. I had to learn about how to write a good questionnaire. So I did a lot of research, a lot of studying of the basics. And then I used this methodology called grounded theory. And luckily, there was a person who had a doctorate degree in grounded theory who was living in this area. And so he actually helped me make sure that my research was solid and that I was understanding grounded theory properly. So that was just um, really good for me. Yeah.
So going more direct on the topic of True Mother and learning about
Mhm.
True Mother, what do you learn through your dissertation and as well as studying True Mother's words?
Well, what I concluded in my dissertation, or actually, okay, what I discovered in my dissertation was that there were three ways that people understood True Mother. And the first way were people that understood True Mother who learned about True Mother through Father's words, and also through the words of the pioneering members. And the second way people came to understand Mother was through their direct experiences with her. And the third way was through spiritual experiences with her. So I was able to find these three categories and place the research participants into one of those three categories. Sometimes they overlapped. They did overlap, but I think um, anyone who could read my research will say, "Oh yeah, that's me. I'm in that category. That fits. That's where I fit." And or all three. But I mean, there were some people who has never met mother, but they've only had spiritual experiences about her, and they have such strong belief and faith in who true mother is,
Mm.
and they live their entire life really trying to support her. And then there's I call them kind of the special lucky people, the ones who get to really interact with mother and they see her almost every single day. I was lucky to interview several people um, uh, who were able to, just see her every day, um, and to talk to them about how they observed her, how they saw her. They also had spiritual experiences about mother, and the interesting thing was that the way that they saw her spiritually, even before they met her, even before they actually came to work closely with her, those spiritual experiences matched up with the physical experiences that they had with her.
Oh.
Yeah, so and then the category of leaders and educators that knew Mother through Father's words, um, they were more they were more negative. They were at first negative about a lot of the changes that Mother was making with the theology and also with the leadership. And in the beginning of 2013 and 14, especially what I experienced in 2015 and 16. Mother was making lots of leadership changes at that time, and people felt really unstable, um, work-wise, even location-wise. Mother was making a lot of changes. There, she was bringing all the main offices from Seoul into this area of Gapyeong, which is very countryside, and they couldn't understand Mother's vision of why she was moving all of these main offices that was located in Seoul, which is like the main city of Korea. And that's where, people were always interacting and networking. And why was she trying to bring this all out into the countryside? How we were going to get people here? So there was a lot of talk about that. And they couldn't understand why she was doing what she was doing. But over the period of time, so from 2015 to 2020, 2020 is when I did all of my interviews. They were able to see how her changes actually had positive results. So they shared their progress of how they came to see True Mother, how they came to unite with her, align with her, agree with her, respect her. So yeah, there's these three categories like that. Yeah. And then the conclusion of my dissertation was basically um, three things. And the first one was that we didn't know True Mother.
Mm.
I my first my when I wrote that in my dissertation conclusion, some of the professors, my committee, were a little bit upset with me. They were like, "What do you mean we don't know mother?" And I because I wrote we did not know mother well. I wrote we did not know mother, and they told me maybe you should put well because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to argue that your point is not right. But I said, well, based on my research, yeah, we didn't know each other well. Okay, we didn't know each other well. And the second one was that we have to make our own effort to understand who she is. And I think there were a lot of my research participants, some of them were saying, I don't feel love from mother. I can't feel her love. She's, and the way that they observed her um, was from a physical perspective. They felt like she was cold or unfeeling or emotionless. Like they described her in this way. And but they realized that it was through if some of the participants who couldn't relate with mother, they still connected with God through prayer and they through offering devotion. And then they came to see True Mother from God's perspective. So they could
Mm.
see who True Mother was for God, for humanity, through their own devotion, through their own efforts, by offering changsang and praying and asking questions. So that was my second conclusion. And the final conclusion was we all need to have spiritual and physical experiences in order to solidify our faith. and in this case, our understanding about True Mother to solidify, to unite with her. So we need this physical experience and the spiritual experience. And I know that a lot of people are like, well, how we're going to have a physical experience with Mother? Um, it's like a million to one or thousands to one. Mother's just this one person. And um, it's through the stories that people tell. It's through those stories that people share after having had some encounter with Mother. And it's like the gospel stories of Jesus. I think those stories will be the physical experiences that we can have, about True Mother. But yeah, so those three conclusions, I was surprised because I made that in 2020. My advisor, Dr. Solova, was saying, "Oh, this is so timely. This research is very much needed right now."
Hmm.
But I, I, I couldn't get my dissertation passed for several years. The structure wasn't right, and so I couldn't present my conclusion for a long time. I also couldn't work on my journals, you know, trying to raise five children. I was working full time and also trying to finish my dissertation. And it was just this balancing act was just crazy. So I couldn't write any journals then. And then, but just this past January, I went to the 40-day spirituality, the Hyojong's 40-day spirituality workshop. And that's when I started hearing uh, Reverend Iki-sung he's the main director at the Cheonpyeong Training Center, and he was saying, "We didn't know Mother, we didn't know Mother, we don't know her, we don't know her." He was repeating my dissertation conclusion. So I thought, okay, um, I organized a lot of my materials for my dissertation, and it's something that I could really help people now by giving my lectures about True Mother and how people came to see her from God's perspective, from the perspective of the providence, from as the only begotten daughter, also from her perspective, from how she sees herself, which I feel is not how we've looked at Mother. We have not looked at True Mother from her perspective.
Hmm.
So,
Can you
yeah.
share the experience of what how True Mother helped you to your dissertation to get approved?
I had 9 exams for my dissertation. I had 9 exams, and I was really struggling with the structure and with whether or not was it my English capabilities? What is it? What is it? And but in hindsight, I'm really grateful that my professors didn't let it go, just didn't let me pass without changing the structure because I see um, now you want to graduate being approved um, so that you can be accepted by other uh, academic faculty, like other people in your doctorate level. So when they look at your work, you want to make sure that everything's okay, right? You're not missing out on the latest structure. So my professors were really pushing me for that so that they can also use my dissertation and share it with their own colleagues. So I really appreciated that after they signed and sealed everything. But I don't, I think it's okay to admit that it has been difficult for many professors and also our leaders to accept what Mother's saying. And I think it's natural. This process of changing our belief system is not easy. It has never been easy because it's accepting new truths. And all throughout human history, religious history, whenever a new truth came about, there was a lot of revolt. And we see this in the Protestant Reformation, which True Mother is consistently bringing up. She's talking about the Protestant Reformation from the Catholic Church to the Protestant Church and why that happened. But we also see this much further back when Jesus came and he was speaking the new truth to the people, and it was not taken well. He was sent to the cross. He was killed. So, um, Yeah, True Mother has been going through a lot to try to educate us for the last 10 years. And I really want to step up to say that because um, Mother's just now really sharing a lot of words with us about her situation, her background, who she is, even educating us about Father. And why did it take so long? It's already been very long because Mother, she's also sharing that since 1960, uh, her being the only begotten daughter should have been revealed even then. And so um, I understand that it can be difficult for people to receive and accept what True Mother is teaching us. But I think we need to acknowledge, yeah, it is different. It is very different from what we've known and what we believed before. But to ask the question, well, I mean, when Mother said what she said, actually, if I can just go a little bit off topic, I can share, when I was 16, my grandfather, my grandfather is a special person. He received revelations from God throughout his life. He passed when he was 93. And before he turned 20, he had a near-death experience. He was electrocuted.
Oh, wow.
And ever since then, he was spiritually open. He could communicate with God and the angels. And he was guided by the angels to meet your father.
Wow.
He was guided. And he had 6 kids. And my father at that time must have been 4 or 5. And he found his way to the church where True Father was by the angels. And ever since then, my grandparents are pioneering members. Uh, they know very well about the history of the church and how everything was developed. So, my grandfather would pass on revelations that he received from the spirit world to my father, and then my father would give them to true parents. Um, that was happening a lot, especially in the 1990s. And in 1992, when True Mother inaugurated the Women's Federation for World Peace, I think it was sometime in April or May. I was living in Toronto. I was 16 years old then, and um, we had received a video from, I think it was back then, now it's called Peace TV. And we received videos. We didn't have internet back then, right?
Yeah.
We couldn't connect on Zoom. So we had to wait for Unification News, and we received these videos from Korea, and that's how we were updated about what your parents were doing.
Oh,
And so we
wow.
had received the latest video of True Mother, and she was giving her speech at the Women's Federation inauguration. And I just remember I had never really heard her voice. That was the first time I heard Mother's voice for that length of time. Um, and I remember thinking, wow, she has such a clear, strong voice. And I just remember, oh, she's so beautiful. And I was sitting next to my grandfather. We were watching that. It was Sunday afternoon. And um, I'm very close to my grandfather. Whenever he came to our house, I would sit next to him. And he shared many spiritual things with me. And I think he's one of the main reasons why I was so interested in spirituality while I was younger. But that after Mother's speech, he went into kind of like a trance and he started tearing up and crying, and his eye was kind of fluttering, his nose was fluttering, and he was receiving a revelation. And he held my hand and I said, "Oh, Harabaji, what's wrong?" And he said, "Oh, he said, True Mother is the first type of woman to come to this earth, and no one like her will come ever again." So that is actually an only begotten daughter kind of revelation. But we didn't know that terminology back then.
Mm.
It wasn't familiar to us. True Father spoke about the only begotten daughter for about 7 years, since 1960 to 1967. If you look at his words, he did speak about it, but it wasn't focused on. And if you study Dr. Jin Kim's research about True Mother and the only begotten daughter, he will give you the exact amount of times Father spoke about the only begotten daughter. It's there, it's in his words, but our movement didn't focus on that. And so, but right after my grandfather said that, he started to cry. And he said, "Oh, father should have remained pure until he met true mother for the marriage supper of the Lamb. So true father shouldn't have married anyone else. He should have remained pure." So, but when I heard that at 16, I didn't really think about the magnitude of what he said.
Mm.
I didn't think, well, what does that mean? I had no understanding. Growing up, I didn't ask a lot of questions. I was one of those children who just listened, who followed. I didn't have a critical mind. I didn't really ask questions. I just believed. So I just filed that away in my brain. It's just kind of in the back of my brain. And my life went on. And after I went to UTS when I was around 23, I started to hear many things about the pioneering times. I mean, my grandfather told me many stories about the pioneering times in the church, but it just never rang a bell. I think I was just too immature, and I was very shielded. I stayed at home a lot. I didn't hang out with my friends. I wasn't a part of the teenage lifestyle in Canada. I just stayed home. I like to be close to my parents, so I was protected by a lot of things. Um, but it was back in 2016 when I came to Korea, uh, and I started to hear about what Mother was saying. I had kind of like a spiritual experience. It was like a spiritual download of information, and it shocked me. It shocked me because I realized what Mother's words meant. And
Mm.
now she's more publicly speaking about it. This year, starting this February, she also said exactly what my grandfather said. She said that father should have remained um, pure. He should have waited until he met Mother. So that says a lot.
Mm.
And I mean, we have our the belief system is the way that it's formulated. There's so many aspects to a belief system. You know, we have revelations and scripture, experience, but on just the last, I think maybe 10 years, or maybe even more than that, there's a lot of other fields that are coming in, psychology, even science. And I think it's safe to believe that our belief systems, they can change and they should change based on new truth and new knowledge and new facts. And I think True Mother's given that to us, and we need to make those changes. And it doesn't change our relationship with God. It makes it stronger if it's really based on the truth. So a lot of people that I was talking to while I was doing my research, and they were sharing their difficulty, even in calling God Heavenly Parent, because we
Mm.
had called God Heavenly Father.
Mm.
And then it was so painful for them to start calling God Heavenly Parent. And they really resented Mother for that.
Mm.
And I thought, I mean, for me, I thought I couldn't relate to that. I was grateful that now we could include the feminine aspect of, calling God. But I get from, several individual perspectives. And it's not just men. There were women like that too. So it was very painful. And uh, it's important to acknowledge that pain and those feelings and those changes. And it's not easy to change your belief systems, but everything changes in this world. And I was able to think that way because while I was presenting my findings to Dr. Silova and I was explaining the process that people went through, I was getting mixed up with the words of belief and faith.
Mm.
I was kind of intermeshing them. And he said, "Oh, Yeunhee, I think you don't understand. I think you're having a little problem um, between faith and belief." And I felt, what are you talking about? I've been studying theology my entire life. I've been reading about, religious. literature my entire life. How could I make a mistake about my understanding between faith and belief? And he gave me this book by Wilfred Cantwell Smith. And he's also a well-known religious professor from Canada. And he gave me his book. He was also a colleague of Dr. Silova. They both went to Harvard together. And he gave me this book, and it's an amazing book. It talks about the differences between faith and belief. And he really, his reference, where I have the book here. I got to show you. Where did I put the book? Here it is. It's on my desk. The references alone is almost half the book, just the
Wow.
references alone. So he his research was very thorough, and he's pretty much saying that beliefs should change because beliefs, if they're the truths are relative. The only absolute truth is God. We all know that God is the creator, okay? But whatever we discover in the world is discovered by human beings who make mistakes sometimes. We miss things out. We miss things while we're discovering knowledge. So sometimes our systematized belief system is lacking. We don't have all the information. So we should always be open to receiving new information and new truths. And so he says that belief systems are like tools that help us strengthen our relationship with God, or it could further our relationship with God if it's not the right tool, if it's not the right belief system to help us become closer to God. So I thought, wow, I really thank Dr. Saloba for that book. And also, Wilfred Cantwell Smith for that research. And I feel like that's kind of like the key or the doorway to help us be able to receive Mother's new words and not feel like um, we're doing some kind of disservice to Father or hurting
Mm,
Father by accepting something new.
mm,
I think if anything, Father will be happy because that's what if the purpose of Father's life was to help us connect to God, right? And if this is going to help us align better with heaven and understand the heavenly providence, then yeah, why not? Why not accept new information?
mm. I hope
Yes.
that everyone who's listened to this is enjoying it as much as me. I'm like, I always love to hear Dr. Chang. But as well, I want to be aware of the time because I don't want this episode to be too long. And
I
I
understand.
hope that it's like good enough that uh Dr. Chang can come to share more on other topics as well in the future. We can hear more. But I don't want to, I want to close with a question of who is true
Mhm.
mother and how we can connect with her. Like your true, from the three conclusions of your dissertation, right? Like we didn't know who true mother was, or we don't know yet. And the second one about you need to make effort to connect with her. Like,
Mhm.
what is who's true mother and how can we connect with her?
Okay. Oh, before I answer that question, I just want to say about the second. Um, there are people who are saying, "Oh no, mother, she should have done this for me. She should
Mm,
have been this way towards me." Um, but when they prayed to Heavenly Parent, they asked and they said, "I can't love her." They said, "I can't connect with her." And sometimes they even were like, "I hate mother," you know. But God said, "Nevertheless, love.
mm,
You must still love." And when I heard that, I thought, wow, it is really our own responsibility to love. I don't want to say it's a responsibility, but when we find it difficult to love other people, it's actually on us. We have to make the effort to be loving. And it's in our nature actually to love, but there's so many things that are blocking us. There's so much garbage. I think it's
mm,
garbage. It's like pollution because
mm,
the sun is always shining. It comes up every single morning. It doesn't matter what human beings do. The sun will be there in the morning. It shines on the earth. It gives life to all living things. But what is blocking the sunlight? It's the pollution.
Mm.
It's the fine dust that's in the air. Um, it keeps us from feeling the sunlight on our face.
Mm.
And I think that that's the exact same thing with Mother. Uh, Mother, she is the she is the living representation, I believe, of Heavenly Mother.
Mm.
And we can call that the living Holy Spirit or the only begotten daughter. And how we can align with her, I think, is by doing what she's asking us to do right now, which is to join the Chunshimwon prayer vigils. And if we pray, we try to connect. We have to make the effort to really pray and connect, and also um, clean ourselves, kind of empty ourselves. I think because I experienced myself the 40-day workshop. I went there in January. It's not easy to go to a 40-day workshop um, with 5 children. And me having gone there is a story in itself. I, um, yeah, because I had so much difficulty with the work that I was doing, and I found lots of difficulty trying to find people that I felt uh, was truly trying to support your mother from her perspective. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, we can't pick the mom over the dad.
Mm.
They say that a lot. Oh, this is a fight between do I agree with mom or dad? And I never saw it like that. Anyone who knows me knows that I love father. I love father my entire life. But I think that we, as a movement, were used to uh, looking through the world, looking through everything through father's words. And we never did that through mother's lens, through her perspective. And um, as I started doing that, it's just my whole entire life changed. And I did become closer to God. I realized how I was living my life of faith. To not see mother, to not see the person who I called mother for over 40 years of my life. What did that mean to me? Not being able to understand that she was also a human being with feelings, with ideas, with dreams, her own connection to God, her own relationship with God. There's many people who didn't realize that about mother. I'm not saying I'm definitely not saying that there there weren't individuals who didn't think that way, but from my research and also from a lot of individuals that I talked to, that's what I came to know. So right now at the Chunshimwon um, vigils, there are hundreds of testimonies of how young people are experiencing True Mother through their spiritual experiences. Um, I don't know if you've participated in the Chunshimon prayer vigils, um,
Yeah.
but here it's really different. Because I do it at home with my kids 4 days a week, and then on Friday nights I go there, and just the level of energy is completely different. There's also healing going on, and we all know that the Holy Spirit is known for healings. So many healings going on. I myself received an incredible healing. I had a disc problem, I think, for 20 years, and it was horrible. The last 2 or 3 years, I had so much pain that I had to get chiropractic work done for 7 months. But it didn't matter how much I got it done. Nothing helped. But I went to the Chunshimwon um, prayer vigil, and also I did a lot of the spiritual removal, and I haven't had any pain since January. And this is my own personal testimony, but there's hundreds of testimonies like this. And the three conclusions that I made in my dissertation, I see it being enacted every day
Mm.
through the testimonies that are being given. Um, What more can I say? True Mother has given us a gift of the Chunshimwon prayer hall. And all I can say is you need to experience it for yourself. You need to make that effort. And I know that if there are people who don't believe, I have seen people who have really opposed Mother who are there now and they're crying. They're being touched by the light of Chunshim. Chunshim is Heavenly Parent's love. They're being touched by this love and they're being transformed. And I'll just say that last year, the reason why I ended up going to the 40-day workshop was because I had so much judgment um, for people who just couldn't see Mother's perspective. I had so much judgment, and that judgment almost made me go crazy. I thought that I was in the right because I was supporting Mother, and I felt that I knew her heart, and I felt that I was aligned with her, but it was killing me because I couldn't feel the love that she had for us, that she also had for those that opposed her. And I didn't understand that until I went to the 40-day workshop and I had an amazing spiritual experience after I did the central spirit removals. And I was able to feel God's love. I was really able to feel God's love. And all of a sudden, I was able to accept people who were actually opposing Mother. And I had a sense of patience and empathy and compassion for them. And I know Mother can't wait forever because she needs to move the providence along, but it's made it much more easier for me to be patient. And it's really coming from when I'm trying to share Mother's heart with people, it's coming from a place uh, of love and not anger and judgment. Yeah.
Wow.
And I realized that about True Mother. I realized that that this word forgiveness, like True Mother and God, this word forgiveness is just a stepping stone for very humanistic thinking. God doesn't really forgive us. God is always loving us, always embracing us, always waiting for us. And Mother's been doing the same thing. She's always waiting for us, always hoping that we will um, become the filial children, the children that understands the parental heart. So that's what I realized that Mother had been doing this whole entire time. Because how can she keep the secret about her being the only begotten daughter for over 6 decades? I asked this question in my lecture. How long have you ever kept a secret for? Have you kept a secret for more than 2 days, a week? And everyone starts laughing. But actually, it's impossible to really keep a secret, especially something like that.
Hmm.
So, how did she do that? How could she do something like that if not with the heart of God?
Hmm.
So,
Oh my goodness. No,
yeah,
go ahead, go ahead.
to me, that's just, I don't know how to talk about, like, I don't know how to explain that. It's not human.
Hmm.
It's not human. So, it has to be God.
Hmm. Oh my God. I absolutely hope that this is not our last episode because I had hundreds more questions. Like,
Okay.
so what do you think True Mother didn't spoke before? What is True Mother biggest pain? How can we connect with True Father? What do you think? And then you talk about forgiveness, and I was like, okay, how can we receive grace from the Holy Spirit? How it feels like, and there's like, and we didn't even touch about the blessing, right? Which is like the primarily topic in this podcast, right? And for those who are listening, it's like, oh, well, I come here to hear about the blessing and matching. I tell you that this is actually a really important step, understanding True Mother to the journey for the matching and blessing. Because as they say, at the end of the day, the blessing is so connected with our faith and as well our belief system, as Dr. Chang was saying. So I do have 100 more questions. I hope we can do a very nice series where we can continue the conversation. But this is just, I would just say, this is just the beginning. And thank you, Dr. Chan, for this first, just how we call it, like appetizer, right, of everything that you had
Yeah.
to share.
Well, thank you so much for giving me this platform again. I don't know all the answers to, and at that time, if you allow me to say, I don't know, I don't know. I
Mm,
think that right now we're in a reformation. Our church is in a reformation right now,
yeah.
and I sometimes feel like we're in a revolution. And
Mm,
in order to move forward, I think we have to acknowledge that there are things that we need to change,
mm,
and definitely for the sake of our children.
mm.
Because I don't, Mother, she has done something incredible for us. She's done something really incredible for us, and I'll share that with you next time.
She gonna leave that cliffhanger, so you guys gonna continue coming here and watch the next episode.
Yes.
But I love your spiritual experience about letting go of judgment. It's so easy to become righteous, right? When
Yes,
we learn about true mother or negative, right? So I think it's like, oh, you can become either righteous or negative. Um,
right.
and that has a big impact as well, how you see people, how you relate with people, and
Yes.
yeah, how your spiritual experience of letting go every judgment and doing this work of spreading uh I wouldn't even say, like, been thinking about a lot about witnessing, right? And in Spanish, witnessing is called testimonio, which is
Mm,
sharing your testimony. That's witnessing.
mm,
And at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, we had to share about True Mother, but it's actually about our story with True Mother, right? Like
right.
our experience with True Mother, and that's the biggest witnessing that we can do with whoever, right? So
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Actually, Reverend Song, just two
Mm.
days ago, he said the exact same thing you just said.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, people's experiences. I mean, you think that I mean, your experience is unique, but there's so many other people that can relate with your experience and really grow from that because uh, maybe you are at this certain level that is similar to another person, and then you see how they overcame their difficulties and how they grew. But oh yeah, I mean, in my age, I thought I would have certain things down. So I was like, okay, I'm a loving person, but I wasn't. I was not a loving person, and it was causing me a lot of pain. So we are all loving people, but when we don't act like a loving person, we really hurt ourselves in the worst
Mm,
ways. And yeah, there's this righteous indignation, very dangerous. Um, yeah, so your mother, she's exercised so much compassion for us. Oh, I mean, she's for 10 years, she's trying to explain to us who she is. She's
mm.
speaking in the simplest way possible compared to Father's words. Father, I translated Father's words for almost 20 years, and Father's words were never easy to translate, never.
Mm,
I can get into a whole episode about that. But Mother's words are extremely easy to understand. And
mm,
she talks very simply because when she gives the truth, she wants all people to understand, from young children to adults. There's no way to misunderstand what she's saying. So yeah,
wow. Thank you. Thank you. I don't want to even
right.
say anything else because I think we're gonna get into another topic.
Yeah. Anyways,
Uh,
thank you. Thank you
uh,
again for this opportunity, and I hope that we can see each other soon.
yeah. Thank you everyone for listening to the end. Please be in tune with the next episodes that we're gonna be coming up, and see you next time. Have a great night.
Also, I can leave a link of my dissertation uh,
Okay.
at the bottom, and I would love for people to just read it,
Yeah,
look
we
at
will
it.
add it to the notes of the
Qualitative
show.
research. So okay, and I'm working on some journals right now, which will it'll make it easier to read what I did. So hopefully, I'll get that done soon.
Great. We will add those resources, and as well, if you can send me the link of a True Mother speech in 1992, that we can add that to as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Bye bye.